What's up, guys? Part-time Gamer Dad here, and today I'm going to give you my official predictions for the 2024 Money in the Bank PLE. But before we get into the video, make sure you like the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you are not already subscribed, and let me know down in the comments below your predictions for the show. Kicking us off, I'm going to start with the women's Money in the Bank match. The participants are Io Sky, Chelsea Green, Lyra Valkyria, Tiffany Stratton Naomi, and Zoe Stark. This match has a great field of competitors, and several of them actually make sense, but I'm going to go with the one that makes the most sense to me, and the one that I think would make for the most intriguing storyline, especially given that the gimmick would fit her really well, and that is Tiffany Stratton. I don't think this is too corny. I hope it's not, but it is about Tiffy time for her to win the Money in the Bank contract and then hold on to it for, honestly, a considerable amount of time. I think let some just natural storyline progressions play out. Let the whole Bayley-Nia Jax thing play out. Let Bayley, if she retains, which we'll get to that when SummerSlam predictions come around, let that storyline of just her being heroic and defending against all odds play out. And even if Nia wins, there's still a storyline element of Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton kind of building this alliance together, which could be a nice little button on that storyline if Tiffany were to win the title off of Nia after a hard-won victory beating Bayley at SummerSlam. Also, you can make the argument for people like Naomi. I think that would be an intriguing element with Naomi and Bayley being friends and Naomi having the briefcase while her friend has the championship. Zoe Stark, I don't see winning. Io Sky won it last year and was the right winner, but this year it would just feel like the same old, and it wouldn't have the same impact. I feel Lyra Valkyria, she's got a long career ahead of her, and I'm glad that she's in a matchup like this, but it's just not her time. And honestly, Chelsea Green could win. Chelsea Green would be the other, I think, front runner in this matchup alongside Tiffany Stratton. But I think that while the crowd will be pulling for Chelsea Green, honestly, at the end of the day, Tiffany Stratton's walking out with the win. Next up, let's talk about the Intercontinental Championship match between Sami Zayn, the defending champion, and Braun Breaker, the absolute force and beast who's just pummeling everything that stands in his way. This one's kind of hard to call. Sami beat Gunther at WrestleMania fairly clean. Now, granted, Gunther got in his own way. He was jaw-jacking to Sami's wife on the outside, and honestly, he got his eyes off the prize, and that's what cost him the IC belt at the end of the day. Braun Breaker, he's kind of got this chip on his shoulder. He thinks he's owed the world. This is a really great opportunity for him to shine in a matchup that's not of a squash nature. I think Sami is likely to retain, but I wouldn't be surprised if Braun Breaker won the title at Money in the Bank. Here's my issue. The go-home math says that Sami Zayn walks away with the win because Braun Breaker had his hands all over that title belt. So knowing that, and this is not foolproof, this is not perfect, but I am going to go for Sami Zayn to retain, eke it out with a victory, setting probably a potential rematch at SummerSlam where we get the official coronation of Braun Breaker as the IC champ. Next up, we have the six-man tag team matchup of the WWE champion Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, and Kevin Owens to fight three members of the New Bloodline. Those members of the New Bloodline that are up for eligibility for this match are Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, and of course, Jacob Fatu. This one, I feel like it's going to be Solo Sikoa and the former Girls of Destiny, Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa, strictly due to the fact that Jacob Fatu has some travel issues internationally based on some previous incidents that he's had overseas and also across the border. So with that being said, you basically have the three original members of the New Bloodline against Cody and Randy and Kevin Owens. And I think given that is the case, I see the New Bloodline winning. Now, this is really a toss-up. I have a hard time determining who's going to win, but I think of all the guys to take a pin, Tonga Loa and Kevin Owens are the two. Kevin Owens is happy to do the JOB in any of these situations, and at the end of the day, I think we're really driving to OG Bloodline versus New Bloodline. So I think in order to set that stage, you need to give the New Bloodline a win, especially to give Solo Sikoa a victory. If Jacob Fatu is in this match, undoubtedly New Bloodline wins. But I think because I can't say for sure that Jacob Fatu has all of his situation ironed out in regards to him being able to cross the U.S. border to go to any other country, I'm going to say I'm less confident on it, but I'm still picking New Bloodline to win. Now, you also got to consider there's this added element of they kicked Paul Heyman out of the Bloodline, and Paul Heyman's probably going to bring Roman Reigns back into the fold at Money in the Bank, which would be great. But I don't think that's going to happen during the match. I think it happens after the fact while New Bloodline is celebrating. Then Paul Heyman comes out and says, I'm not coming back alone. And here comes Roman. And the pop is going to be monumental. It's going to be one of the biggest pops of the year. I don't think it'll be a Joe Hendry kind of pop, but it will be a big pop nonetheless. This next matchup, I think, is going to be a massive one. It's going to be probably the best match of the night, the most fun for sure. That's the men's Money in the Bank match. In that match, you've got Jey Uso, Chad Gable, who these two guys have been kind of interacting with the Wyatt Six to a degree, so I'll be curious to see what happens with those two in the match. You also have Carmelo Hayes, the newest rising star on SmackDown. You have LA Knight, the man who a lot of people were saying should have won last year. You have Andrade, who has returned to WWE earlier this year in the Royal Rumble, is kind of just treading water during this first half of the year, but him being in the Money in the Bank is a really great opportunity for him. And then, of course, you have the man who just can't seem to get the job done, who keeps getting screwed over at every opportunity by his arch nemesis, CM Punk, and that is DM Hunk, Drew McIntyre. Listen, I think it's no secret that Drew McIntyre is absolutely the favorite to win. And if I was a smart man, I would bet on Drew McIntyre winning, going to cash in the briefcase in the same night, and being stopped by CM Punk. I think we're going to see a repeat of what happened to John Cena when he wrestled against Dolph Ziggler in a ladder match for the Money in the Bank briefcase, and that is getting screwed over by AJ Lee. AJ Lee's going to come out while Drew McIntyre is about to grab that Money in the Bank briefcase, and she's going to push over the ladder in retaliation for what happened to her husband at the hands of Drew McIntyre a few weeks ago. And so that leaves the rest of the participants, and I'm just going to kind of do process of elimination, right? Andrade, I don't see Andrade winning this. Carmelo Hayes could be great, but he's still really young in his career. I think there's going to be many more opportunities for him to win something like the Money in the Bank briefcase. And I do think he will eventually become a world champion in WWE, at the very least a main eventer. So that leaves three viable options in LA Knight, Chad Gable, and Jey Uso. Looking at where I think the storylines are going, LA Knight seems to have an upcoming feud for the U.S. Championship against Logan Paul, which I believe will culminate at SummerSlam, and I think that will cause LA Knight to actually lose the Money in the Bank briefcase opportunity due to interference from Logan Paul. So then you have Chad Gable or Jey Uso. And this is where I get really... I'm back and forth, right? But I think Jey Uso is going to be Uncle Howdy's first proper feud. I think Jay's going to get screwed over, and down the road he might get brought into the Bloodline, or we're going to see the Bloodline storyline really kick off with Jay getting screwed. So that only leaves one person, that's Chad Gable. Do I love the idea of Chad Gable being the Money in the Bank briefcase holder? Yeah, I really do. Here's the reason I think it works beautifully. I think that you have an opportunity for Chad Gable to put himself in an opportunity with main event spot that he really let the current character he's developing shine. You could build a strong stable around him. The Creed brothers are still coming, I believe. But is WWE going to get behind Chad Gable as Mr. Money in the Bank? I don't think so. So then I'm back to Jey Uso versus Drew McIntyre. Guys, this is the hardest one for me to predict. And you know what? Is AJ Lee ever going to come back to WWE? I don't know. I don't think so. So let's just say, for the sake of being conservative, I'm going to pick Jey Uso. We'll pick Jey Uso. They've even made a Yeet in the Bank briefcase, so obviously the branding around him is great. And I think then Jey Uso has had an opportunity to go down the road. I don't think he's going to necessarily completely reform back up with the OG bloodline. I do think he'll get involved in some way, but he'll still be main event Jey Uso on his own. He'll be doing his solo run, and I think we're going to see him as a world champion down the road. I don't know if he beats Gunther, but that would be interesting. to see those two fight out. And actually, honestly, a Money in the Bank cash in on Gunther makes a lot of sense for a way to get the title off of him. And Jay has the whole year. So we're going to say Jey Uso. I am so confident I am wrong, but I can't think of like where else this is going to go. So the only other option is Drew McIntyre in my mind. Chad Gable would be awesome. I just don't see it happening, and I really hope I'm wrong. But we'll say Jay for now. And that leaves the main event. Because speaking of the World Championship, we have a returning Seth freaking Rollins wrestling Damian Priest, the leader of the Judgment Day, for the World Heavyweight Championship. And in what I anticipate will be the main event, I really think this is going to be the time that Damian Priest loses the World Heavyweight Championship. I'm just thinking through, like, what is a SummerSlam card going to look like? And I think you're going to have a babyface wrestle Gunther. And not to say that Gunther doesn't have some kind of babyface element right now because people are really behind him. But I think you put Gunther versus Damian Priest, it's not going to have the same impact of Gunther winning the championship as I think him beating Seth freaking Rollins clean would be. Also, this is a great opportunity for Seth Rollins to really get involved in the SummerSlam card properly, because if he's not on the card in a world title match, what else is he going to do? Now, yes, you could have the Wyatt Six attack Seth Rollins, and that'd be really interesting because their whole thing is like you turn your back on family, which obviously Seth Rollins did do. But I think there's potentially more of a story with Chad Gable or Jey Uso to play out at SummerSlam. So for the sake of just being smart and looking ahead, I think we're going to have Seth Rollins versus Gunther. I think we're going to have Damian Priest versus Finn Balor. Obviously, Liv versus Rhea in a custody of Dirty Dom match. So I really think this is it for Damian. And a 4-month run is not bad at all. 3-month, 4-month, whatever. That's a nice little run for Damian Priest. So I have Seth Rollins winning and then Gunther coming out and kind of solidifying that match between them at SummerSlam. All right, guys, those are my predictions for SummerSlam 2024. The sun is about to go down. It is the 4th of July. I hope that you are having a safe and happy 4th of July. If you're watching this on 4th of July, if you're watching after the fact, hope that you stayed safe, and I hope that you have a great rest of your day whenever you're watching this. Thank you so much for the support. I will see you very soon.